Welcome to Algebra 1. The learning goals for this episode are to understand what makes lines parallel and what makes them perpendicular, and to then write equations of lines that are parallel and lines that are perpendicular. First, some necessary vocabulary. The mathematical definition of parallel lines is, if two lines in the same plane have the same slope, then they are parallel. A more common way of thinking about parallel lines is that they never intersect. So, for example, these four lines all have slopes of 2. They are all parallel, and they never intersect with each other. The mathematical definition of perpendicular lines is, if two lines in the same plane have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other, then they are perpendicular. Perpendicular lines intersect to create right angles. So, for example, these two perpendicular lines have a slope of 2 and of negative 1/2 respectively. 2 and negative 1/2 are negative reciprocals of each other, so the two lines are perpendicular and meet to form a right angle. Let's look at some examples. We want to write an equation for the line that passes through the point 4, 5 and is parallel to the line y equals 4x minus 2. Since y equals 4x minus 2 is in slope-intercept form, we see that the slope of that line is 4. Since our line needs to be parallel to that line, our line also has to have a slope of 4. So now we use point slope and substitute in our point 4, 5 and our slope 4. We can stop there, but if we want to get this into slope-intercept form or standard form, we can. Let's try another example. In this case, we're given the same point 4, 5 and the same line y equals 4x minus 2, but this time we're asked to find the line that's perpendicular to the given line. Again, the slope of y equals 4x minus 2 is 4. For a line that's perpendicular to that, the slope will be the negative reciprocal of 4, which is negative 1/4. Now we use point slope and fill in our point 4, 5 and our slope negative 1/4. Again, if we want, we can simplify it to slope-intercept form or to standard form. But we don't have to. We can leave it in point slope. In this example, they ask us to find both the parallel line and the perpendicular line through 4, 5 that is parallel and perpendicular to y equals negative 4. In this case, we need to realize that y equals negative 4 is a horizontal line through y equals negative 4. Any line parallel to it will also be a horizontal line, and any line perpendicular to it will have to be a vertical line. We can use those facts to help us figure out the equations. For a line to be horizontal and to go through the point 4, 5, the equation would have to be y equals 5. And for a line to be vertical and go through the point 4, 5, then the equation would have to be x equals 4. Now for our guided practice section, we're going to work through some problems together. You do not need to write down these problems, just step through them with me. At each step, I'm going to prompt you with the question you should be asking yourself, then I'll pause for about 5 seconds for you to think about it and answer it for yourself. Then I'll show you. So, for this problem, our first question is, what are we trying to do here? What we're trying to do is find an equation of a line that's parallel to the given line and also through the given point. How do we do that? First, we figure out the slope of y equals 2x minus 25. The slope of that line is 2. Any line that's parallel to it will also have a slope of 2. Now what? Now we use point slope form and fill in our slope 2 and our point 2, negative 3. So what do we do next? We can simplify the left side of the equation to be y plus 3. Are we finished? Yes, the question asked us to write an equation but didn't specify the form, so point slope form is fine. If it had asked us to put it in slope-intercept or standard form, we would need to continue. Since it did not, we're finished. Let's try another example. What are we trying to do here? This time we're trying to find an equation of a line perpendicular to the given line and through the given point. So what do we do first? First, we have to find our slope. The slope of the given line is 2, so the slope of a perpendicular line is going to be the negative reciprocal of 2, or negative 1/2. What's the next step? Now we fill in our point and our slope into point-slope form and simplify the left side a little bit. We're done. What does this problem ask us to do? It asks us to find both parallel and perpendicular lines to a given line through a given point. What do we do first? For this problem, we should notice that the given line is a horizontal line. We know that any line parallel to a horizontal line is also going to be horizontal, which means it's going to have an equation of y equal some constant. And we should know that any line perpendicular to a horizontal line is going to be vertical, and therefore we'll have an equation of x equals some constant. Now what? Now we can write our equations. A parallel line through -2, -1 will have an equation of y equals -1. And a perpendicular line through that point will have an equation of x equals -2. Now for the self-check section. In this section, you're going to physically pause the video as you work out the problem on paper in your notebook. Then you'll press play to check to see how you did. You'll have 5 seconds to pause the video after I stop speaking before I show you the solution. Please pause the video now, work out the problem, then press play to check. Here is the solution. Please compare this to your work. Pause the video here if you need more time to compare, then press play again to move to the next problem. Same thing on this problem. Pause the video, write down this problem and work it out in your notebook, then press play to check. Please pause the video now. Here's the solution. Again, pause the video if you need more time to compare this to your work. Let's do one more. Pause the video, write down this problem and work it out in your notebook, then press play to check. Please pause the video now. Here's the solution. Again, pause the video if you need more time to compare this to your work. In closing, let's review our learning goals. We wanted to understand what makes lines parallel and perpendicular, and then learn how to write equations for them. We did that by learning about the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines, and using that information and techniques we've learned previously to write the equations.